While most immigrants in America earn $58,000 a year, Indian immigrants make $123,000. More than double. But here's what nobody tells you. It's not just about tech jobs. There's a hidden pattern that starts before they even leave India. And honestly, it's something anyone can replicate if they're willing to make the same sacrifices. If you've ever wondered why your Indian coworker just bought a Tesla while you're still splitting Uber rides, this isn't about luck. It's about a system. And by the end of this video, you'll understand the 5 strategies that turn Indian immigrants into millionaires. Fair warning though, the last one is so controversial, even other immigrants won't talk about it publicly. Let's start with number 5. But before we dive in, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button and leave a comment. I subscribe. And I'll personally welcome you into the family. With that said, let's get started. Section 1. The education filter. Reason number 5 will shock you because it starts before they even board the plane to America. According to a 2023 Pew Research study, 79% of Indian immigrants hold a bachelor's degree or higher. Compare that to just 34% of the total US population. But this isn't random. India has 1.4 billion people, but only 2 to 3% make it to America. Think about that. The immigration system itself is a filter. It's like trying to get into an exclusive club where the bouncer only lets in people who've already proven themselves somewhere else. Let me tell you about Raj. He's a 28-year-old software engineer from Bangalore. Raj spent 4 years competing against 1.5 million students for 10,000 seats at IIT, the Indian Institute of Technology. That's a 0.67% acceptance rate. Harvard's 3% acceptance rate. That looks like a community college by comparison. The preparation alone is insane. Raj told me he studied 14 hours a day for 2 years straight. His parents sold their car to pay for coaching classes. He lived in a tiny room with 3 other students, sharing one bathroom, eating rice and lentils twice a day because that's all they could afford. Every Sunday, they'd take practice tests that lasted 4 hours. If you scored below 90%, you'd spend the rest of the day redoing problems until midnight. There was no social life, no dating, no movies, just textbooks, problem sets, and the crushing weight of knowing that if you failed, you'd let down your entire family. By the time Raj landed in San Francisco, he'd already survived a system more brutal than anything America could throw at him. The Google interview process. He laughed. He said it was easier than his high school finals back in India. Today, at 35, he's a senior engineer at Google making $340,000 a year. But that's not even the most important part. The most important part is what that education did to his brain. It rewired him to see problems differently, to work harder than everyone around him, to never, ever give up. If you've ever felt like you're competing against people who just get it faster, this is why. They've been trained in pressure cooker environments since age 15. The American workplace, it's a vacation by comparison. Deadlines that Americans stress about for weeks, they've been handling worse since they were teenagers. But here's the thing. Education alone doesn't explain the wealth gap. Because there are plenty of educated people who stay broke their whole lives. There's a darker, more uncomfortable truth about how Indian immigrants use the American system, and it's hiding in plain sight. Section 2. The network multiplier. Reason number 4 is why your LinkedIn request to an Indian executive gets ignored, but their cousin from Mumbai gets a job interview in 48 hours. And I'm about to show you exactly how this works. Indian immigrants don't just network. They build closed-loop systems. According to a 2022 Harvard Business Review study, 68% of Indian immigrants get their first US job through another Indian immigrant's referral. Not a job board, not a recruiter, not even LinkedIn. A handshake that happened 10 years ago at a wedding in Delhi. Let me tell you about Priya. She's a 32-year-old data analyst from Hyderabad. Priya arrived in Texas with $800 in her pocket and no job lined up. I'm talking about sleeping on an air mattress in someone's living room, eating instant ramen, checking her bank account every morning, with anxiety crawling up her spine. Within 3 weeks, she had 14 job interviews. 14. You want to know her secret? Her uncle's college roommate knew someone at Microsoft. That someone introduced her to a manager who was also from Hyderabad. She never applied through the company website. She never submitted a resume through the normal channels. $95,000 starting salary. No recruiter. No LinkedIn premium. No months of applications going into the void. But here's where it gets deeper. That manager didn't just give her a job. He mentored her. Told her which projects to volunteer for, which executives to impress, which meetings actually mattered, and which ones were just theater. Within 2 years, Priya was promoted twice. She's now making $135,000, and she's the one bringing other Indians into the company. Stanford's 2023 migration study revealed that ethnic networking capital increases immigrant income by 47% in the first 5 years. Let me translate that. This isn't nepotism. It's strategic tribalism, and it's completely legal. It's about understanding that trust is built through shared background, shared struggles, shared language. When you come from the same city in India, you don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to code switch. You don't need to prove you're trustworthy. The trust is already there. And in business, trust is everything. You might feel locked out right now, like there's this invisible club you can't access. But here's the twist. You can build this too. Black Twitter became a powerful network. Latino business associations exist in every major city. Alumni networks work the same way. You just need to understand that networking isn't about collecting business cards. It's about building a tribe that protects its own. But even with education and networks, you still won't get rich unless you understand the next strategy. Because what Indian immigrants do with their first paycheck is so counterintuitive, most Americans think they're absolutely insane, until they see the bank account 10 years later. Section 3. The delayed gratification advantage. Reason number 3 is why you'll see a 30-year-old Indian doctor driving a 2008 Honda Civic while living in a $2 million house. And when I show you the math, you're going to feel personally attacked. According to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics in 2024, Indian households save 38% of their income on average. Let me say that again. 38%. The typical American household saves 3.5%. That's not a typo. That's not an error. 38% versus 3.5%. Let me introduce you to Arjun. He's a 34-year-old physician from New Delhi, making $280,000 a year. You'd expect him to live like a king, right? Sports car, luxury apartment, eating at restaurants every night, designer clothes, expensive watches. Wrong. Dead wrong. Arjun lives in a basement apartment that costs $1,200 a month. His car has 150,000 miles on it. The check engine light has been on for 6 months. He wears the same 5 shirts on rotation. His coworkers make jokes about it. They call him the millionaire janitor behind his back. But here's what they don't see. In 7 years, Arjun bought 3 rental properties in cash. Paid off his med school debt, all $320,000 of it. Sent $50,000 home to India to build his parents a house. Has $400,000 in index funds. And still has 2 years of emergency savings in the bank. His American colleagues. They're driving BMWs and complaining about credit card debt. I'd asked Arjun about this, and his exact words were, "Americans buy lifestyle. We buy freedom. They want to look rich. We want to be rich. There's a difference." Cornell University's 2023 Immigrant Wealth Study found that Indian immigrants reach a net worth of $500,000 in 12 years on average. US-born households take 34 years to hit the same number. It's not about income. It's about what you do with the money the day after you get it. See, there's this thing Indian immigrants understand that most Americans don't. Every dollar you spend on looking rich is a dollar you can't invest. Every car payment is a rental property you can't buy. Every dinner at a fancy restaurant is stock you can't purchase. And compound interest doesn't care about your Instagram aesthetic. Arjun told me something I'll never forget. He said, "In India, I watched my father work 16-hour days for 30 years and retire with nothing. I promised myself I would never be trapped like that. So yes, I drive a bad car. Yes, I live in a basement. But in 10 years, I'll retire at 45, and my father's grandchildren will never worry about money again." If you've ever felt behind, this is your wake-up call. But there's one strategy even more powerful, and it's hiding in the tax code. And when you combine it with reason number 2, it becomes a legal money printing machine most people never discover. Section 4. The entrepreneurship explosion. Reason number 2 is why 1 in 3 Indian immigrants becomes a business owner, compared to just 1 in 10 Americans. And the numbers behind this are absolutely wild. The 2023 Kaufman Foundation report shows that Indian immigrants start businesses at 3.2 times the rate of native-born Americans. But here's the kicker. 16% of US startups worth over $1 billion were founded by Indian immigrants. Sundar Pichai runs Google. Satya Nadella runs Microsoft. Nikesh Arora runs Palo Alto Networks. Shantanu Narayan runs Adobe. But let's talk about someone who's not a billionaire CEO. Let's talk about someone more relatable. Meet Meera. She came to the US on a student visa at age 25 to study marketing. She worked part-time at Starbucks just to survive. 25 hours a week, making $11 an hour, coming home exhausted, smelling like coffee, feet aching, wondering if this was all a mistake. But on the side, she started helping Indian restaurants with Google Ads. $500 per client. Her first client was a tiny restaurant in Queens that her friend's cousin owned. They were getting 0 online orders. Within 2 months, she tripled their delivery revenue. Word spread. One restaurant owner told another, then another. Within 6 months, she had 12 clients. She was making $6,000 a month on the side, more than her Starbucks job. So she quit. Scared out of her mind, but she quit. Within 2 years, her side hustle was making $15,000 a month. She hired 3 people. Started offering social media management, then website design, then full marketing strategy. At 33, she sold the agency for $2.3 million. I asked her how she did it, and she said something profound. I watched my parents run a small shop in Mumbai. I knew profit margins before I knew algebra. I understood customer service before I understood calculus. My mother taught me that if you solve someone's problem, they'll pay you. It's that simple. NIT's 2022 Immigrant Entrepreneurship Study found that immigrants from collectivist cultures like India are 2.7 times more likely to take calculated business risks. You want to know why? Because they have family safety nets. When you know 47 relatives back home are cheering for you, sending you encouraging texts, praying for you, failure isn't fatal. It's just feedback. American culture teaches you that if you fail, you're a failure. Indian culture teaches you that if you fail, you try again, and again, and again, until it works. But here's what really separates Indian immigrant entrepreneurs from everyone else. They're not trying to build the next Facebook. They're not chasing venture capital. They're building boring, profitable businesses. Accounting firms, consulting, tutoring services, convenience stores, motels. You know how many motels in America are owned by Indians? Over 50%. They saw an opportunity everyone else ignored. Small towns needed cheap, clean places to stay. So they bought them, one at a time. Reinvested profits. Bought another, then another. Now their kids go to Ivy League schools, and the family owns 20 properties. You don't need a safety net of 47 relatives. You just need to understand the final strategy. And it's the most controversial one. Because reason number 1 is so politically charged, Most media outlets won't touch it. But it's the single biggest wealth accelerator for Indian immigrants. And it's 100% legal. Section 5. The Immigration System Hack. Reason number 1 is why tech companies sponsor 70% of Indian immigrants. And why that's a golden ticket most people completely misunderstand. The H-1B visa system is designed to bring in highly skilled workers. But here's the part nobody says out loud. It's also designed to underpay them. According to a 2023 Economic Policy Institute report, H-1B workers earn 15 to 20% less than American counterparts in the same role for the first 3 to 5 years. You'd think that's a disadvantage, right? You'd think Indian immigrants would be angry about this. But here's the twist. They turned this into a weapon. Here's the strategy, step by step. First, they accept the lower pay initially. They take the $90,000 job that an American might reject because it's only $90,000. While their American peers are holding out for $120,000, Indians are already in the door, learning the system, building relationships, gaining skills. Second, while working, they gain rare skills: systems knowledge, code architecture, management tactics that take years to master. They volunteer for the hard projects nobody else wants. They work weekends. They become indispensable. Third, the moment their green card is approved, everything changes. They're no longer tied to one employer. They jump to another company for $180,000. Or they start their own consulting business and charge $300 an hour. Let me tell you about Vikram. He's a 38-year-old software architect. For 6 years, he made $95,000 at a consulting firm, while his American peers made $120,000. $25,000 a year less. For 6 years. He stayed because the company sponsored his green card. He worked weekends. He skipped vacations. His wife was back in India for 3 of those years because he couldn't afford to bring her over yet. He lived with 2 roommates in a tiny apartment. He ate dal and rice every single day to save money. His American coworkers thought he was crazy. They'd invite him to happy hour and he'd decline. They'd talk about their new cars and he'd stay quiet. Behind his back, they'd joke that he was cheap, that he didn't know how to enjoy life. But Vikram had a plan. He knew exactly what he was doing. The day his green card arrived in the mail, he quit. Started his own AE consulting firm. Year 1, $400,000 in revenue. Year 3, $2.1 million. His exact quote: "I didn't see it as underpayment. I saw it as an investment in citizenship. I paid my dues. Now I own the game." Georgetown University's 2024 Immigration Economics paper found that H-1B visa holders who transition to green cards see a 67% income increase within 24 months. 67%. Because once you have that green card, you're no longer trapped. You have leverage. You have options. You have power. Now, I know what you're thinking. This feels unfair. Critics say this suppresses American wages. That it's a loophole that hurts native-born workers. And honestly, that's a valid concern. Those critics aren't wrong to worry about wage suppression. But supporters say it's just delayed gratification with a legal moat around it. That Indian immigrants are playing by the exact rules America created. That if American workers don't want to compete, maybe the system needs to change. You might feel conflicted right now. That's fair. That's actually the right response. But here's the reality. Indian immigrants are playing by the rules, just with a longer-term strategy than most people can stomach. They're willing to sacrifice today for a payoff tomorrow. And in a capitalist system, that patience gets rewarded. And when you combine all 5 reasons together, you don't get luck. You get a system. Elite education that filters for the best. Closed-loop networks that create opportunity. Extreme savings that build wealth. Entrepreneurial risk-taking that multiplies income. And immigration arbitrage that turns short-term pain into long-term dominance. You don't get luck. You get a compounding machine that creates wealth faster than almost any other immigrant group in history. So here's the real question. Is this a blueprint anyone can follow? Or is it only possible because of cultural advantages most of us don't have? If you're Indian, tell us which strategy your family used. If you're not, tell us which one you're going to steal. And if you think this whole system is unfair, explain why in the comments, because that's the debate we need to have. One more thing. I didn't mention the one factor that might matter most. And it's so sensitive, I'm leaving it for a follow-up video. Drop a fire emoji if you want me to go there. And if you made it this far, you're in the top 5% of viewers who actually finish videos. That alone tells me you're the type of person who could use these strategies. Don't let this be just another video you forget tomorrow.